First is to observe the customer's foot. We notice that the customer is standing, and that's the right thing to do. You must be weight bearing while you're being measured. Notice one here. We noticed some corns developing on the tops of these toes. That would suggest that either the shoes that he's wearing are too short or too shallow, and that we must take that into consideration. We also notice the beginnings of a bunion here, which is also going to influence the width of the foot and the flex point. So again, this is first impressions. We notice that the arches are not flat, not high, sort of in the middle. So we're not looking for extra depth shoes, but we are looking for shoes that have got reasonable volume just from the perceived width of the foot. You always start measuring with a right foot. Okay, Joe, please put your right foot in and your heel right at the back of the cup. Okay, right at the back. You can actually do that to harness it. Okay, the customer is happy now, and the customer generally will bring that foot, the left foot, a bit forward. Okay, so you've got 50-50 now, and we've got a couple of things that we do. One, we're going to look at the overall length measurement, and we're going to look at the ball measurement or flex point measurement, which is key. So when we look at overall length, remember I said the line that comes in front of the longest toe. Now in Joe's case, his big toe is not his longest toe. His second toe is his longest toe, and it's just under US 12. Interestingly enough, when we look at his flex point is at US 11 and a half, which is slightly shorter than expected. And that doesn't surprise me, because this area here doesn't seem to be in proportion to the rest. So he might have a short metatarsal, hence the first metatarsal joint is further back than it should be. However, you cannot go shorter than US 12, because as the Brannock device advisory guide is, you take the longest number. So in this case, 12 is bigger than 11 and a half, so we're going to stay with 12. The next thing you look at is how fleshy the foot is. Is the foot skinny? Can you see the sinews and so on? Or is it got more meat on it and so on? This will help you define how wide the foot is. So remember, there's going to be a sock on the foot, and the sock normally takes up about 1.5 millimeters, and another 1.5 to 2.5 millimeters, totaling 4 millimeters for a foot that is of standard width. So if you look carefully, there's a gap here between the widest point of Joe's foot and the bar. And that gap is about 4.5 to 5 millimeters. Now, when we read carefully, and I hope the camera can see here, can you see there? Okay. When we calculate, we notice that 12 is the biggest number. We go to 12 on the Brannock device, and we have a look down, and we see that 12 is between D and E. In American widths, it's between standard and wide. If you're between widths, what's the suggestion? Always go to the wider width first, and then you can change if necessary. That is right foot. So right foot, 12E. Let's look at the left foot. We turn the machine around, and we produced exactly the same thing, heel right at the back. We make sure that the foot is pressed up against the flex point. Okay? And again, we make sure that we have about that 5 millimeter gap. And we're going to notice something very clever here, that Joe has a real difference in length. This was a US 12, and here US 12 is already on the toe, and his second toe is at US 12.5. So again, and his flex point is at US 12.5. This is the longer foot. And if we have a look at the width, and we go to US 12.5 on the scale, which is between 12 and 13, and you look down, it's between D and E. Again, if in doubt, go wider. So here you've got this is a great example of a left foot and a right foot, where the left is longer than the right. So you must accommodate that. It's not necessary that you go for a different size left and right, but you would definitely pick a United States 12.5. Otherwise, the shoes are going to be too short. That's result number 1. Hold. Okay, so now what we can, let's say we start again. Miguel is sample number 2, and we start with him asking him to put his right foot with his heel as far back as possible, and he does that, and then we ask him to bring that foot parallel, a little bit more apart. That's it. So there's a 50-50, the weight distribution is 50-50, and we now can look and we can very carefully slide the bar up to see where the metatarsal head is, and that's the flex point of his foot. Now if we look on the longer side here, remember very carefully that on a Brannock device with men's and ladies, the gold color or the pink color on other ones is ladies, and the darker color is men's. So don't look here, look here. Okay, so the length of this toe is US 9, but it's touching on the line of US 9. So if you went US 9, you might find that the shoe is slightly short. So the next line up is US 9.5. That would be my length measurement, would be US 9.5. My flex point measurement, if you are confused and you can't see the flex point, you can ask the customer to flex this toe. Can you lift your toe? Yeah, just like that. Okay, and you can see where it bends there, put it down. Okay, and then we see that this is at US 9. So we've got US 9 and about US 9.5. Again, 9.5 is the number we start at. If you find that the shoe is a bit long, you can always go back to the shorter one, but my suggestion is you start with a longer one as per the Brannock device description. Then again, we're going to, now this foot is not as fleshy as the last foot. It's a little narrow and so on. So here, you only leave about a 3 millimeter gap, not a 5 millimeter gap. And we go to US 9.5. And if we look at US 9.5, it's about a D. Okay? D being standard fitting. That is his right foot. Let's do the left. Okay, same procedure, heel at the back, big toe down the middle, flex point, get the foot snug up there, that's it. Okay, and now we look again. This toe is slightly shorter than this one. This length of this foot's marginally shorter. It's just under US 9. That one was on US 9. The flex point is on US 9. And the widest part of his foot is back here. And if we go to 9, it's showing slightly wider. Let me do the 4 millimeter gap. US 9, it's between D and 2E and E. Again, I would go with the E, the wide version first, and then back to the standard version. But this foot was definitely on the 9.5D. This one would be a 9D, but we're going to go with 9.5D on this one. So again, we've now measured 2 people where their left and rights are not identical. And as I said earlier, left and right often are not identical. You must take the shoe that is the bigger foot. And in this case, it's not this foot, it's this one.